Hello and welcome to Film Seizure. This week in Film Seizure, we have Bad Flying Cars to start this movie. 1988's Rain Man. I say that because Brinley was like, when she watched this, she was like, that car looks terrible flying through the air. I'm like, it's on a lift. It's not. it's not flying. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
And liftoff on this episode.
Yes, and liftoff. My bad. But that's Jeff Arbuckle. Say hi, Jeff Arbuckle.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you. Jason.
Hello.
Jason Oliver with us as well. Sorry, I totally flubbed that. Should I do it over?
No, let's go. Let's do
All
it.
right.
We're good.
Anyway.
And who are you?
Levinson. I'm Chuck Moore.
Okay.
Did I not even say that?
I don't think you did, but it doesn't matter. Now you did. So
I think I must have hit my head in the night. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little early for us on this recording, but that's okay. That's okay. We're getting it in.
So, Rain Man, 1988, Barry Levinson. One of my, along with next week's movie, probably one of my favorite movies. Like, I just love, it makes me feel good when I watch this movie. Dustin Hoffman, incredible. Tom Cruise, probably one of my favorite performances by him.
It's
even
pretty
though
good.
He's a total dickhead for most of the movie. But
he does have a good arc though.
He does. And he plays a great, you have Dustin Hoffman as the center, unchanging character, never changes throughout the whole entire movie. And you have Tom Cruise kind of orbiting him, changing throughout the movie, which is, yes, it is good stuff.
There are two moments in particular that I'm looking forward to talking about in terms of Tom Cruise and his arc.
I saw this when it came out, pretty sure in the theater. If not like right when it went to video, because I was super excited about it. Like seeing Dustin Hoffman's character on screen in previews and stuff. I was like, I got to see that. I got to see that movie. When did you guys first see it? Jeff, I'll go with you. Did you?
Pretty sure it was video at that time, because most of the movies back in that era, it was like, unless it was like a obvious thing where it's like, me and my brothers will go see, Beetlejuice or something. Unless it was something like that, I usually was waited until like
a
video
fun movie.
Yeah. It was there were some movies I'd walk to the general cinema at the mall to see, like Transformers or Star Trek 4 or something, or Superman 4. Oh God, that was the day my innocence died when it came to movies. But I was like, movies can be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Superman movie can
be bad. And even though then with my maturity at that point, I was like, wait, is Superman 3 bad? I think it might be. But anyway,
we have talked about your maturity before on this, so I assume when you were 11, this was like, lowbrow for you.
Yeah, yes, yes, obviously, it's like give me Dangerous Liaisons instead. Whatever. Last Temptation of Christ. Let's go to that one. No, but it was one that it's like, when the buzz started, it's like, yeah, I want to see that. I got to check this out. I knew who Tom Cruise was. I obviously knew who Dustin Hoffman was. It's like, I want to see this, Right. So, yeah.
Jason, what about you? You were younger.
I have no idea when I saw this for the first time.
But you had seen it prior.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's been a while. But yeah, I have no clue. I have no clue when I saw this the first time. It was definitely on video. I definitely did not see this in the theater. I would have only been like 9 when it came out.
I guess I was 11.
This is definitely one that I caught later in life, probably in like my late teen catch-up period.
Right. I have to see these Oscar nominees and stuff like that, period.
Yeah.
This wasn't just an Oscar nominee. This is the highest grossing film of 1988.
Wow.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't even know that. I mean, it's not that surprising, I guess. I haven't looked at what it is up against as far as that is concerned. But Tom Cruise was pretty hot at this point, right? And and Dustin Hoffman was a pretty big actor.
Yeah, I mean he's old guard, but still, something to take notice of.
Yeah, and I think everyone was just intrigued by someone playing an autistic character on screen. Like,
yeah, that's something to bring up here also is that, so a couple of things about that. Number one, obviously listeners, this is a 35-year-old movie. There obviously been a lot of more study and everything, but this was right around the time where major flood of studies were being released to the public about autism. So it is this is right at the start of something becoming part of our everyday health conversations.
right.
So that is also key. And
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like they list of several doctor names at the end of the movie that the production consulted with, and I'm sure Dustin Hoffman consulted with when crafting the character.
now it is also important to note that what he's portraying is extremely rare.
Yeah.
Autistic savants are exceptionally rare, whereas autism and savantism, I guess, are not rare, but the confluence of those is. So because there was, one of the things that you have to be kind of mindful of is also, for a little while after this movie was released, people would hear that somebody was autistic. It's like, oh, you're like Rain Man, so count the number of toothpicks I'm just throwing up in the air here, or whatever, but like that's, it's, he has a very rare condition.
Yeah, that's also we understand, like you said, a lot more. I'm not going to pretend to be any kind of expert, but I do know and understand that autism is very much on a spectrum. And
I promise you all three of us are on that spectrum in some way.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
The expansion of that spectrum has happened.
People are. I think that
Probably.
a spectrum kind of implies an entirety of humanity, right?
Yep.
And we don't think really had any. This movie doesn't really go into any of that kind of.
No, it's a very specific story about a very specific condition.
Yeah. It doesn't really even get into like, there's movies like Awakenings.
Yeah.
Where they might get a little bit more into some of the scientific aspects of this emerging studying, but I don't know. Was Awakenings about autism? Did he have autism?
I think he just had brain damage.
Yeah, or something. He was like, he was locked
in syndrome.
Yeah, it was a locked in syndrome, but yeah, but I mean, like,
anyway,
because there was a TV show where somebody had autism later, where it was a little bit more of what you expect to see the quote unquote average high functioning autistic person to be.
I think The Good Doctor or whatever that show
is. Yeah, I think he is
more modern than you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit more modern. I can't remember what the show was. I'm not. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Rain Man instead.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, not your average like road comedy film, right? Like that.
Not your average comedy.
Yeah, not your average comedy. Not your average drama, really, because one of the characters in this movie cannot express what they're feeling, like at all, ever. So it's interesting that you have this static character just moving through the world, right? And then all the chaos that he accidentally creates or is going on around him, right? And it, like, I don't know, did Dustin Hoffman win for this movie? Because he should have.
Yeah, going away, he won. Yeah, for sure.
It's astounding because I've been around autistic people in my life, and I know we're not comparing him because he's not your average autistic person, but the performance is, believable. It's believable that he is an autistic man.
He does things with his expressions, with the way his face rests in a normal way, or like just little physical, where it's like, my God, I can't think that hard to do that for the entirety that he had to have probably done that in the course of filming this movie.
My neck would hurt. I'll tell you that much. Because there's like a tenseness to him that is like, I couldn't stay in that position for that long, like for as long as he did. But
yeah, like because there are times where it's like he is so stationary where it's like, God, that had to be difficult.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
He also has one of the best on-screen dances I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's right up there with Crispin Glover and Friday
Is it
Part 4
when he's alone by the bed? Yes, it's so good.
In his Tom Cruise's apartment. Yes, it's
it's so good.
Like Raven has discovered 80s new wave, and
he is getting into it. He is into it.
But it feels
because that is also interesting about his character too, is because he does understand music, which I'm not sure that a lot of autistic people can. In that, like in the, again, I don't know exactly the correct terms, but because they do mention that he is fairly high functioning as an autistic savant,
right?
But as an autistic person, I wouldn't think that, because he needs assisted living, that he wouldn't be exceptionally high, he wouldn't be considered exceptionally high functioning anymore, I would think. But like there are several cues and several things that autistic people like artistically don't always get, like in certain forms of autism. And he does, like he sang the chart, which that's a big thing later. But like he can listen to music. He can move with music. It is interesting that he has certain things that he can access, but the emotion of it is just not there. Right. It's interesting.
Yeah.
There is a very long list though of musicians with autism. So I don't want our listeners to
That's why I want to say certain forms of autism would take that away and or would make it difficult, I should say. So yeah. Again, it's that spectrum. It's that functioning spectrum too. Yeah. So
right. So yeah, what do we have here? We have Charlie Babbitt, who owns a dealership of high-end cars. We'll call it.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, and I'll also call it a little shady.
Oh, it's totally shady. I mean, he lies.
Yeah. He's flying by the seat of his pants here.
I don't even know if this is how many times he's done this, because it feels a little like he figured out a way to make some fast cash and slap this all together. But from my understanding, what he's done is he has purchased 4 Lamborghinis from somewhere, not from Lamborghini. It's like gray market shadiness.
Right. Certainly from another country.
He may or may not have a dealer's license. I don't think he does. He's just essentially, flipping cars, right? And
he can procure them for people.
He's like gotten a loan to buy these cars. He's gotten deposits from 4 buyers to keep the loan at bay, but he needs to flip them fast so he can pay the cars off, and he's going to net something like $75K, I think, right? Which is really like, man, that seems like a lot of work for $75K. You've got 2 other mouths to feed on your team, right?
Yeah, right. But 35 years ago, that's a lot more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But the cars are stuck in EPA hell because they're in California and they got to pass. Yep. They got to pass tests.
They should have
to be
imported those
roadworthy.
things to Florida or something.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna
bring them into.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I had a Raymond Babbitt moment where it's like they were talking about emissions, and I'm thinking, fucking Price is Right. They always said it has California emissions on the cars that they give away, and I'm like, I'm sitting there like running through that whole thing that they would say on Price is Right, and I'm like,
were you saying it out loud?
Not silently, but maybe like, not quite loud.
A wonderful array of prizes or whatever he said. Yeah. Merchandise. Look at all this magnificent merchandise.
It reminded you it was 7 minutes until Price is Right, and you got all panicky.
Yeah, and it's like, oh shit, I can't finish this movie now.
Not your game, Ray.
But it's interesting here too, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it because I've seen it like a million times. The way that Charlie Babbitt is on the phone in the beginning of this movie. He repeats himself. He says, I don't know, multiple times. He's like Raymond in this scene a little bit, which I think this is the first time I was like, holy crap. He's like his brother in this scene. So there is like a familial.
They do look like they could be related to each other too.
They do.
I mean, they really do. They have the same haircut.
Before the matching suits.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like they have similar hairstyle. They have similar hair type. You know, it's like they're similar height. You know, it's like these guys could be brothers, like literally.
I want to mention something too about Dustin Hoffman in this, because I honestly don't even see Dustin Hoffman when I watch this movie. That's like really rare. Like, you see Tom Cruise in this movie. It's like, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is playing Tom Cruise.
but Hoffman kind of disappears and almost immediately. It's kind of uncanny. Yeah.
I don't know how he does that.
Steph.
Steph said, I've seen this movie before. It's called Twins. Like when they,
oh yeah,
when they were coming down the escalator. I think that's the most enjoyment she got out of this, honestly, was that scene.
So she wasn't digging on it?
I don't know. This is not her speed.
Yeah, Steph's a puzzle to try to figure out when it comes to movies.
She is, because I told you guys last week, this movie held the attention of a 15-year-old.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that.
She loved it.
Nice.
Of course, she had the joke about the flying car. I think it was a joke. I hope it was a joke. A flying car in the beginning, but she doesn't like the first 30 minutes of it because there's no Rain Man. But once Raymond shows up, she was like totally invested. She was totally into his story. She got pissed at Charlie Babbitt. Like, why is this asshole treating his brother like this? And she has a better understanding of probably autism and mental health and all that stuff than I did.
Than we did, yeah.
When I was 15 years old.
Maybe even we do now. I don't know.
Her anger, I think we should have been angrier probably at Charlie Babbitt the first time we watched this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, although I will say, well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I think it would be a good recommendation, I think, for her to follow this one up with would be...
Don't say Tiptoes. Don't say Tiptoes.
No. I still haven't seen that, and one of these days it's going to happen. No, I was going to say...
Well, they come back next week.
I think that might be one that she finds interesting. Yeah.
That's a good one, too.
It is very good.
Yeah. Is that one respectful? I can't remember if that got skeevy or not. Sent of a woman.
It doesn't get skeevy, but he's a very angry, pissed off at the world man, right?
Right.
But he also has a profound disability. Yeah.
And then Brinley will understand it when I walk around the house going, hoo-ah, hoo-ah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that like cemented the hoo-ah.
and on a different level of good dances.
And it's got a great tango in it. Yep.
Yeah, with Gabrielle Anwar.
Yeah.
She is pretty. Yeah.
We have quite a beautiful
oh boy,
lady in this one as well.
Let's talk about Valeria Golino, because she's important in the early stage, because you see that she has a greater understanding of how people work than Tom Cruise could ever hope in this movie, than Charlie could ever hope to have in this movie.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise was raised by a man who had no feelings, because what you would assume was the emotional center of their family died when he was 2 years old, the mom. And we don't know anything about her really at all, but we do realize that her dying, like, the family unfolds at that point, right?
At least very shortly after, as we'll find out.
Yep.
Yeah. But yes, I can't even pronounce her name, but
Valeria Golino.
Yeah, Valeria Golino. Like,
we'll just call her Hot Shots. We'll just call her Hot Shots.
Yes.
Like, she's probably, I think she's Italian. Probably my first Italian.
She's mostly done Italian movies. I first spotted her same year in Big Top Pee-wee. Now that was a movie we did go see, and I was like, wow, women can look like that? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got that.
So there's an exoticness to her.
She's obviously beautiful, but yes, she has that exotic look, and she has the accent that like pulls you right in. Like, oh, I need to listen to this woman.
Yeah, and she's got like she said, blue eyes with the dark features. It's like that's exotic. And guys, let me tell you, I do love a curly headed woman.
Yeah.
I do.
She was born in Naples, Italy, but she is also half Greek. Her mom was Greek.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's going to create some
Interesting.
pretty exotic features. Yeah.
It's all Mediterranean, baby.
Yeah.
But she was diagnosed with scoliosis at age 11.
Oh,
She had a
really?
steel rod implanted in her back for 5 years. As a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I had scoliosis, but I had to put my head against the wall and do all sorts of weird, like pushing my head into a wall to get
How old were you?
to straighten out. Probably around her age, like 10 or 11.
Oh, that also explains a lot, Chuck. I'm sorry.
But I also wore corrective boots when I was a kid, and I always forget this.
I had corrective.
like
Right.
Forrest Gump.
Yes, I.
Well, you didn't
You
have the
had the
braces.
ones with the braces?
They were just shoes. I think they did have the metal on them. I barely remember this. I was like 2 years old.
I think I was pigeon-toed, and I had
Me
to
too.
I had to have those corrective shoes that kind of straighten your feet out. Yeah.
I don't want to belabor this, but yes, I was pigeon-toed, and once I got my first knee surgery, my legs naturally started to go back to that. So I had to think when I was walking to make sure my feet weren't pointed inwards. And nobody told me that was going to happen, but yeah.
Wow.
So if we're going to talk about birth defects that we had, I had to get my tongue clipped because I had extra skin under my tongue. I couldn't reach the roof of my tongue. I couldn't get to the top of so I had to go into speech therapy. But I remember one of my earliest memories is waking up from the surgery and kind of like how much ice cream and Jell-O you could eat as a little child. Do it again, man. Get back in there. Cut some more stuff.
Can I stay?
Yeah.
All right. Our Italian hotshot is Charlie Babbitt's girlfriend. She also works for him at his shady business, and they are about to go on the road.
She's hardly his girlfriend, though. I mean, he doesn't treat her really like a girlfriend. It's very clear that he doesn't really tell her anything. He has a difficult time showing her affection.
Well, that's what I was going to say about the family trait. Even though Rain Man, who we'll meet very soon, he's autistic, can't show affection. It is definitely there in Charlie Babbitt's father, and it's definitely there in Charlie.
Yeah.
They have the same difficulty breaking through that barrier without the actual barrier that would prevent you from doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they could theoretically be affectionate. They're just not.
Right. Yeah, because there's only, there are a couple of scenes where it's very obvious, they're sleeping together. Well, there's one hilarious scene. But then, aside from,
I had a weird Forrest Gump moment in that.
Yeah. but then there's also aside from that, aside from sex, Susanna gets more affection from Raymond, where there's more tenderness with Raymond than she has with Charlie, and vice versa than Charlie has with her. It is weird. It is a weird dynamic that she has with Charlie.
But yet they both have difficulty expressing themselves, right?
Yes, exactly.
They're very much the same in that regard, but in some ways, Raymond expresses himself, he kind of on what you see is what you get, and it's all on his sleeve, but yet there's a frustration there that maybe he even feels that we don't understand, that he can't comprehend or communicate. On that sort of deeper level, right?
It is very well done in this movie because it does make you question whether it's there and it's frustrating, or if it's just not there at all.
Right. Yeah.
It does a good job of that.
But you can tell when he does have those little moments, especially with what's Tom Cruise's name in this?
Charlie Babbitt.
Yeah, how the hell could I forget that? I said a million times in the movie.
Never heard Charlie Babbitt.
Well, one of the things that Raymond does later is he's constantly spelling his name, Charlie's name.
Like his main man, Vern. Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
But no, I was just going to say that there are those moments where he breaks through, right? Moments where he recognizes humor, or he recognizes like some sort of higher human connection. Maybe when they dance together, right? Like there's just those, and Hoffman is really good about like playing it with that ambiguity still, right?
Right.
But there's something a little bit different in some of those scenes that is just superb acting for one.
Yeah. I think we'll talk about that, like one breakthrough moment that just makes me nearly cry every time it happens later. But it does seem a bit like we're talking about that ambiguity, but I'm curious about those. Like, does that shit really happen? I don't know if that shit really happens, but
Right.
like,
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
again, with the spectrum,
Is this like fantasy land
Right.
kind of stuff? Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Is it there to have a dramatic moment? Yeah,
right.
Well, yeah, sure.
Right.
I mean,
or are we just reading more into it because we want it, right?
oh
Could be
yeah.
that.
I mean, I think Charlie Babbitt does that a few times.
Well, that's one of those things that yeah, I mean, like the critic who really didn't like this movie is Pauline Kael,
Yeah.
and she basically accuses the movie of being manipulative.
Yeah.
Which fair, but all movies are. Come on,
Yeah,
you know?
like,
Pretty much. I mean,
aren't we
yeah.
supposed to be manipulated?
As
when we
we,
watch a movie?
what did you want, Pauline? A documentary? Like,
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, come on. Siskel and Ebert could agree that this was doing it right. You know,
Right.
it's like,
So anyway, Charlie Babbitt, when they're on the road, I can't remember where they're going. It's unimportant, but he and his girlfriend, Hotshots, are going on a trip.
oh, the Palm Springs.
Palm Springs. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he gets a call from Lenny.
Susanna. Just call her Susanna.
Okay, I'll try to remember that.
I'm going to refer to
that's-
her as Big Top Pee Wee.
I can't help it. Like I see Valeria Galino. I didn't even remember her name before I saw this movie. The first thing I thought was Hot Shots. So
Oh, for sure, for sure. And that whatever GIF of the Lady and the Tramp that one of you sent in that.
Although
chat is like,
my favorite one though is the popping the
Yes.
cherry from the belly button. Was that
Yes.
what you were really looking for?
because that was a I didn't know this at the time when I saw Hot Shots, but yes, that's the first thing I thought it was the sex scene where they like they
The 9.5 weeks. Yeah.
It's the 9.5 weeks parody, yeah. But I didn't know that when I saw Hot Shots probably the first 8,000 times.
right.
Boy, when we did that episode, all of that clicked for you in a new way.
It certainly did, yeah.
We haven't even gotten through the beginning of this movie.
No, we haven't. Sorry.
So Charlie Babbitt gets a call from Lenny, who's the other guy who works in his office, and he says, "Your dad died." And the funeral's on Monday, I think, in Ohio. Yeah, Cincinnati. And
You'll know where.
you'll know where. And like he and Susanna are already like kind of arguing about the amount of information he shares with her. Like he hasn't talked to her for hours, and he's
The
like,
night before, he did mention Rain Man, his imaginary friend.
"Oh, I
who
thought
he
he
says
did when they get to his house. His dad's house is where he says it."
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah. Yeah. Because they've just mostly been arguing.
It's just after the funeral. It's soon that he
Right. You're right.
But he, so he's like, "Sorry about the trip." And they turn around and she's like, "Well, I'll go with you." And they drive to Cincinnati from California, I guess. Or no, they fly.
No, they fly. Yeah. Because he gets a rental car. Yeah.
Gets a rental car. They go to the funeral and he's just kind of there, right? Because he hasn't talked to his dad in at least 10 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure what the time frame is, but it's at least 10 to 12 years. And he goes from the funeral to meet the lawyer who has dad's last will and testament. And he finds out that he only got the car.
And the prized rose bushes.
The prize rose. Well, he didn't get the rose bushes. I got the rose bushes.
Right. Yeah. Oh my! His flip out. I mean, this is epic. Tom Cruise peak flip out.
Jumping on couch flip out.
You know what? Yes, read it again because I can't believe my fucking ears.
I definitely got the rose, but he says I definitely got the rose bushes, and that's another kind of nod to Raymond. And
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, there's a lot of moments that I picked up on this time that I hadn't before that. I'm like, he talks just like his brother, but maybe with more emotion.
Well, and he hyper focuses like his brother on a lot of things. Like it's just the other side of the stuff that Raymond can't hyper focus on.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He also has the ability to live outside of when things go wrong for him. Yes, it's not comfortable, but he's able to reconcile with it. Like when when he realizes that he's got to pay the loans back, he's lost the cars. It's kind of like, shit, this sucks, but I'll figure it out. Right?
He can solve a problem. Raymond can't
right.
solve a problem.
Yep.
Raymond
If it's not already preset what the resolution is, Raymond can't get to it.
Right.
Like Raymond does the Who's on First thing the whole movie, and his brother's like, it's not a riddle. You're never going to solve it.
And when he finds out that he's never actually seen the bit, he's only read it, it kills me.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, this is funny, right? I bet it doesn't read as funny or whatever it says. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does go and find out that the $3 million his dad had is gone to a beneficiary. Or whatever you call that. I can't remember. Yeah, beneficiary.
Yeah, a benefactor.
Trust, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I couldn't come up with. It's in a trust, and he goes on a little investigative.
Yeah, he gets a little squirmy here. Yeah, it's like, that's a little
nice suit, lady. I'm trying to figure out who this benefactor is, or who has this trust. But he does trace it back to Walbrook, which he isn't sure what this place is. He's driving up and he's like, excuse me, to a fella with Down syndrome, like trying to ask him, like, hey, is this Walbrook? And the guy looks at him and they, hot shots and Charlie look at each other like, what is this place? Jason laughs again.
Hot shots.
I'll stop with the hot shots.
Yeah, because there might be some uncomfortable chuckles eventually. Like maybe like right now.
Well, go ahead. Tell us this one, Jeff. Tell us what happens.
Yeah, so they start touring the place, and like there is a realization here that like this place is kind of sad. Like you can see that Charlie, he doesn't understand it. And certainly Susanna understands what this likely is, or at least maybe she doesn't fully understand it. But like there is a little bit, you do see a little bit of recognition that it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily sadness or if it's like, maybe it's a little bit of sympathy.
Well, there's a natural uncomfortableness.
Sure.
Because a lot of times people don't know how to behave.
Right. And
around people with those, with that type of mental incapacity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially when you walk into it unknowingly.
Right? Yeah. Right. You don't know what you're finding here because there is, because Charlie believes he is an only child, which that is, oof magoof, Dad. Yeah. What are you doing here? But anyway, so he ends up meeting with Dr. Bruner, who basically says, it's like, okay, yes, I've been entrusted, like, I don't have real access to it, but I've been entrusted for the care of your brother.
Like, he doesn't even tell him that.
He doesn't tell him that at first, but yeah. And then when he introduces him to Raymond, it's like, yeah, Raymond's your brother. And he's like, what are you talking about? What is this? And he gets angry at his dad all over again because it's like, well, what do you mean? How could I have not ever known? And Dr. Bruner is, like kind of being a doctor at this point, like, I can't tell you why your father never told you this. It's like, I don't have the answers for you here, but this is the reality. This is what's happened.
Right.
And, now this is like Charlie, like I said, at times when he's witnessing what's going on at this hospital, you do kind of see that there is some discomfort. There may be some sympathy. There may be some trying to puzzle through what this place is, but then he quickly realizes he has no idea what his brother is because he can't get past the idea. It's like he tells him he's an autistic savant. He used to be known as an idiot savant. He's like, so what do you mean? My brother's retarded? What are you telling me here? So he's like, he has to go back to the only thing he knows, which at this time, most people only knew that. It's like if they weren't normal, then they had to be that or whatever normal is.
Yeah. Right. Oh, man, the 80s were bad with that word and another word. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it's like, this is where like now the entire audience is getting a crash course in the fact that no, that those are two completely different things, and like, cause like that's not even touching upon that Down syndrome is neither one of those things either,
Right.
so it's like but at the time in 1988, most of us, it's you're normal or or you're not. And that's, it's the spectrum, this is where we start to learn that, oh, there's differences. And so, but like Charlie is completely and totally unprepared for how to deal with this, because the first thing he wants to do is he wants to kind of invade Raymond's space, because he's going around his room, now, Raymond is a little bit okay with Susanna looking at his baseball cards. He is not okay with Charlie taking books off his shelf.
Right. Like he immediately is taken to her.
Yeah.
Because he's like, do you take prescription medications? And that's like his way of trying to connect.
Yeah.
Right. But with Charlie, he's like, burn. Like he's taking his books off the shelf and he's like, I don't know.
Unannounced visit.
Unannounced visit.
Yeah. Yeah. And Vern, he's the nurse that like mostly does the direct care of Raymond. He's like, I know him about as well as anybody on this planet. I've been with him for 9 years, and he's trying, like, he's got to be there because this is the first time Raymond's meeting this version of Charlie. And so it's like, he doesn't know this person. Now he does. He just doesn't know he knows this person the way he does. But yeah, this is Charlie at this stage is thinking, I'm going to get $1.5 million at least. No problem. Yeah, I'm owed it. I'm due this, and he is, it's only, he has no intention of really getting to know Charlie or Raymond unless he can get that money from him.
Right. He's still pissed off.
Yeah.
It's still like at this point in his mind, kind of a business transaction, not like real life emotions, because again, he's distant, emotionally distant, like his father. He has no connection to this person. He doesn't realize he ever knew him.
Yep.
Right. Like he doesn't realize yet who Raymond actually is.
And he can't even communicate with him. Like he can't even deal with him. He can't even he can't even exist with him in the same space.
Right, because one of Charlie's greatest traits is his way to manipulate people, right? And his way to manipulate situations. Like I don't know that they do a great job of showing this in the beginning, but that's like his shtick. Right. He's a manipulator. He will go at your emotions or whatever. And that's never going to work with Raymond. So he has no like recourse with this man. He's like a puzzle he will never solve. He's what's on first or who's on first to Charlie.
Yeah, what's on second?
Yeah. I don't know.
But so it's like he's and so he realizes that, okay, he's got to take a bigger swing at this. Now, it's in this section here where I have most of my fault with Charlie as a person. There are other things that he does that seems mean that you almost have to kind of sympathize with a little bit. Not totally, but a little bit. Like at one point when he gets, when he has to get out of the car and he's like just pacing the street and he's just like letting off the steam. He's actually doing it the best way possible. at that point. He's not doing it at Raymond, but
Right.
so those moments I have a lot more sympathy for the situation that he's in. However, he does this to himself, and it's because this first section, he is relatively reprehensible.
Oh, yeah.
At this point. I mean, because what does he decide to do?
He kidnaps his brother.
He steals he steals Raymond. Yeah. By the way, this movie is super, super, super intelligent in the sense that they've dropped the name Rain Man, and he's clearly saying Raymond, but it makes us not put those two pieces together for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we aren't even thinking about it. It's
just weird because
super smart.
It's called Rain Man.
Yeah, we're watching
probably the first time you're watching it. Like, what does that even mean?
What is
you've been given all of the clues already, and you don't put it together.
Yeah, fantastic. This is some good writing.
Good writing.
Academy Award winning writing.
Good point. So yeah, Charlie has Susanna like drive to the end of the driveway. He goes to look at the ducks, or the guise of going to look at the ducks with Raymond to talk to him and stuff. But he puts him in the car and takes off with him and lies to Susanna and says, Dr. Bruner says we should spend some time together.
Yeah. Which she picks up on pretty quickly that's not what's going on here.
There's no way. There's no way he told you to do this.
Yeah. There is one really, really important thing we've kind of skipped past. The car itself is super important.
Yeah.
This was
the reason they were restrained.
Yeah. There was the pride and joy was this classic car that Charlie and Raymond's father had, that Charlie was never to touch, was never to drive. And he took it out celebrating an all A report card. After being told no, he stole it.
Right. He steals things. That's what he does.
That's what he does. Because he feels entitled to it. And it's like he's entitled to these things. This is basically 80s the movie, all wrapped up in Charlie's character. But anyway, so yeah, and that's what he ran away the next day. Basically, he's like, "Fuck you, I'm out of here." At that point, and
that's incidentally how he learns about Raymond, because Raymond
knows the car. Yeah, because Susanna was sitting in the car. And he comes in. It's like, who's this guy? What is this? Who is this guy? And he's like, wait, he does know that the car was reupholstered. What does he know what the car was before?
It used to be brown leather. Now they're pitiful red.
Yeah. Yes. For a fan of the Cincinnati Reds.
You know this car?
Yeah. Yeah. I've driven this car. I'm a very good driver. And it's like, that's
I'm an excellent driver.
Yeah. And so it's like he even talks about like having access to this prized possession, which Charlie isn't quick on the uptake on some things, where it's like he should have been. He doesn't really think later about how Raymond had access to something he didn't.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with like why Raymond is not part of his life, has nothing to do with this car. Which nobody is supposed to, but he doesn't realize it's like, what do you mean Dad let you drive this car? Only in the driveways, or whatever,
right,
so it's like, but it's like, he can't believe, he can't reconcile that very well for a while.
Yeah. It takes him quite a long time to reconcile any of it, really. And by the end, I think he's reconciled all of it, but maybe not. He is slow, like you said, on that front. But his whole play here is to steal his brother, to gain custody of him, so that he will then have access to all of the money,
or get paid off,
or get paid off to bring him back. Yeah, which is hilarious. I mean, what a deplorable man Charlie is.
Yeah.
Because he's treating his brother as an asset, not a person.
Yep.
Which is what Charlie does with everything. Am I using you, Raymond? Yeah. Shut up. Sorry.
No, that killed it. That's good stuff. Like he can't, like, every time he tries to confirm something with Raymond, it always backfires.
Oh yeah, it totally flies in his face. But
And that's really important for the ultimate conclusion of the story. How confirmation ends up blowing up in his face.
Yeah, it's fantastic, that ending there, that little meeting. But yeah, they go to a hotel, and this is when Charlie starts to learn about all of the ritual that Raymond needs to maintain like a healthy, I don't want to call it mental state, disposition, right? Like if he doesn't have these certain things, he needs 8 fish sticks. He gets pepperoni pizza on Mondays. He eats with toothpicks. He has to have his apple juice in a little box, right? Like he has to have a TV with a table in front of it and his little notebook and all his 12 pens. And he documents everything, everything. So yeah, you're learning a little bit about why Raymond needs assisted care, right? Because he can't provide any of what he needs for himself, but he absolutely needs it because of his, like, to keep his disposition straight. And this is when Susanna really realizes it, and she's like, this is fucking bullshit. Well, she realizes it a few minutes later, because we do have that funny scene where Charlie and Susanna are having sex and Raymond's in his bedroom.
And he starts mimicking the moans.
Yeah, he starts emulating the sounds and walks in and sits on the end of the bed. He's just sitting there and having sex behind him. He's watching TV.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, see, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
When she says see and he says see, I'm like, that's the best.
and then yeah, it's like, because when Charlie finishes, Susanna's like, I think Raymond's in the room.
And then he yells at him, right?
Yeah. And then she's like, go in there and apologize. Like,
he's your brother.
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes in there, and what's he do? He belittles him again, and she calls him out on that. And it's like, you went in there to apologize, but what's the word? She says something very specific. That's,
I can't remember what the word.
I can't remember what it was either, but it's essentially, anyway, but yeah, it's like, this isn't anything like it's like, you don't like, what is this? What are we doing here?
I'm fucking out of here. I'll tell you what, I paused a moment in this movie probably 150 times when I was a kid, because she was in the tub and she gets out of the tub and puts her shirt on. You could see her breast like for like a half a second. And I was like, I'm pausing that shit.
Yeah, it's like there's a very visible wear on this portion of the VHS tape.
Yeah, our tape probably broke.
The tracking gets a little
wobbly.
It's like you were your own worst enemy.
I should not have admitted that just now. But she does. She calls him out on his bullshit, and she leaves him. So again, this is like another representation of the emotional center leaving Charlie's life and leaving him with someone who cannot express their emotion to him. It's like it's like putting him with his father again.
Yep.
Right? It's kind of brilliant, like, that they set this back up. Like, how does Charlie deal with it this time? Right?
Not well.
Not what I mean, but
but he learns.
Not in the beginning. He does not deal with it well. Yeah,
yeah, because there are certain things about Raymond, like, for example, he will not fly. That's the first thing that they're going to try to do,
unless it's Qantas.
It's like, well, how's that going to fucking help us? We got to.
It might have been ultimately. It might have been the way to go, to fly to Australia and then to LA. Because the road trip cross country was clearly.
Well, yeah, because that's something else that comes up, because he won't fly. So it's like, okay, we got to drive cross country. He will not go outside on rainy days. He's like baseball. The one thing he knows the most about. He doesn't play on rainy days.
Oh my god, dude! when he's like, you take a shower, it's the same thing. He's like, the shower's in the bathroom. And he's like, this conversation's over. No way. Like, once Raymond is like, he's so steadfast, right? Because that's what he is. And Charlie eventually learns that, like, I cannot win an argument with this.
Right.
There's no winning an argument with him.
I like when Raymond says, "I'm gonna be bookless."
Here's the telephone book. Lots of words. Lots of words in it.
He's like, we're gonna be here a very long time, and I'm gonna be bookless. He's so good.
But by the way, the first day on the road, they stop at a diner. This is where things become a little bit more, I mean, let's face it, it's a little magical here in this sense, because like he's counting toothpicks on the floor like instantaneously. But who is the waitress?
Bonnie Hunt.
Bonnie Hunt. Yeah. Anyway, but he knows her name. He knows her address. He knows her phone number.
Right. Because he studied
The actual Bonnie Hunt. He knows all the information about her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's totally amazed.
It's like, wow, you really do get into your roles. But no, it's like, what do you mean you like halfway through the G's that night, he memorized. It's like, what do you mean halfway through the G's? It's like, but anyway, she's, Sally Dibbs, is the person who kind of unlocks some of the things that some of the, let's face it, kind of X-Men level powers,
the magic.
That Raymond has that he can do, which again, Charlie is still a little slow on the uptake, because he does eventually figure out how he can exploit that.
How he can use this asset to make money. Absolutely. And it's wonderfully set up in this too. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of things, and I do think that even though Charlie ultimately exploits him, it does do something important in this movie that is actually kind of a positive. And I'll explain that when we get to that.
I think. But I wonder if we have the same thoughts.
We might here. Yeah. But anyway, so so basically, so he realizes, like, wow, everything any information, any plain old emotionless information that he can take in, he can recall it. Right. And then numbers on top of it.
It's like a computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've got to travel by car, because he won't fly except for Qantas. He won't go anywhere when it rains. They come across a bad accident on the interstate, so they can't go to the interstate now. They got to take all the back roads from Cincinnati to, they're on 275, which they have not even gotten out of Cincinnati yet. When they see the accident,
they're never going to fucking get there.
It's going to be 4 years before they get back to LA. They're going to way miss Fernando Valenzuela pitching on Wednesday. That ain't going to happen.
Right. Oh my God, so funny. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he knows every team's pitching rotation. God damn.
He knows when they pitch, when they pitched, when they will pitch next. All of it. He knows everything.
Yeah.
He's also got another thing. I kind of touched on this earlier, but he has to watch the People's Court. Right? He absolutely must watch the People's Court. And this creates a problem while they're traveling, because I don't know. We don't have to get into the minutia about the car. We know Charlie, or the cars, the Lamborghinis, he's eventually going to have to find $80,000. Right?
Yeah, because eventually the four investors, or the four buyers, want their deposits back of $20,000 each. So it's basically his business is about to go teats up.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But he needs to watch the People's Court, and he loves Judge Wapner, and he recites the beginning of that show so well. It's so fucking funny. Do any of you guys feel guilty, like, laughing at Raymond? I feel kind of guilty. I mean,
I think it depends on what you're laughing. Are you laughing at him, or are you laughing kind of with the scenario? And I at one point in time, like, when you're 11 years old, you might have been laughing a little bit at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Right.
when you're a little bit more mature, you're kind of laughing at the scenario. And I certainly had a lot of chuckles in how Tom Cruise had to deal with him.
Yeah, it's most of the time I'm laughing. It's in their interaction,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And the exasperation of Tom Cruise, like he's kind of the one you're laughing at. At least I was for the
Yeah.
most part. Yeah,
You do laugh at him. You kind of laugh with.
With Raymond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
and I think we have we have a more sensitivity to who Raymond is now, right?
Sure.
In context, and so yeah, you're kind of like you're almost kind of with them a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're ahead of your understanding is ahead of Charlie's.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and we can understand what each doctor along the way has said to Charlie about what that condition is. And it's like Charlie just he can't connect with somebody who can't meet him on some sort of emotional level that he can manipulate.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yep.
Again, 80s the movie.
And yeah, and to go along with that, he's a lot of times convinced he's faking because he just can't.
How can
He's
you
like,
not
are you
understand
in
this?
there? Are you
Yeah.
in there? Is a big theme of this because that's been Charlie's relationship with a lot of people. People wonder if he's in there. Susanna's wondered if Charlie's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is that, like, he is like his brother, he is like his father, they are all alike. And like it takes Charlie butting against something he needs, right? Because he needs his brother. Unfortunately, like for the first half of the movie, he needs him to make money, but to understand that because he can't run away from it, right? Like he did his father eventually. He's stuck. He's stuck trying to figure this out.
Yep.
It's the unsolvable riddle. It's the who's on first.
Yeah. So who's
in
on
his
first?
life? Yeah, like you said earlier. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Since this is a road movie, I'm really bad at keeping details in order.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff. I mean, there are little things along the way. Like, for example, like eventually, like Raymond's like, I don't have my underwear. It's like, I gave you a pair of mine. It's like, I don't, it's like you wear 32, right? It's like he specifically has to have boxer shorts from Kmart
With his name on them.
And he has to get them at the exact location in Cincinnati.
400
I wanted to
Oak
look
Street.
I wanted to look that up and see like the empty lot that it probably is now. But anyway, but no, and it's like Charlie's like, I'm not going back to Cincinnati. And so like, and then eventually Charlie just like exasperated, just throws the underwear and he's like, uh-oh. Your shorts are on the side of the road.
I used to say 97X, bam, the future of rock and roll all the time. When I was all the time. Any radio station I heard the call sign for, I'd repeat it. Like,
Yeah. So then like, and then eventually it's like, oh, Wapner's coming. Oh, it's like Wapner's coming. And so he stops at a farmhouse and he's like,
he pretends he's Nielsen.
Which give credit to the farm lady who we'll talk about very momentarily who that is, that she knows what this is. But he eventually just has to say, it's like, look, he is going to have a meltdown on your porch if he cannot get in there in 2 minutes and watch people's court. And it's so funny then because like the kids are also like intently watching it with him.
What's like, great about that too, though, like, sorry to back up.
No, go right ahead.
When she's like, well, he settled for cartoons because that's what we watch here. And then it just goes quiet. And then they show the TV with the people's court on. And then they pan all the faces of everyone watching it. It's so good.
Yeah. So, Jason, who is our farm lady?
It's Beth Grant. She's the Sparkle Motion lady from
Donnie Darko.
Second film role for her. She got started later in life. She was almost 40 when she made Rain Man.
I mean, she's just one of those faces you just instantly recognize. Yeah. It's like, it's Sparkle Motion.
I instantly recognized her, but my note is this the mother from Frighteners? Because I could not place her. And she's not in Frighteners.
Wasn't the mother from Frighteners No, I'm thinking of someone else. The daughter from Frighteners was Dee Wallace, wasn't it?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. But I thought it was the mother from Frighteners, and then one of you said the sparkle motion thing. I was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
where that's
Yeah. Whenever I see Beth Grant, I'm like Sparkle Motion. Yeah, that's exactly what I think of.
I was starting to doubt your commitment to mentioning her.
Well, we weren't there yet. Well, the other thing too, Bonnie Hunt, that was her very first film role. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Two basically debuts here because Beth Grant's role before this was in Undercover, which probably 3 people saw.
Well, if we ever do it on the show, there'll be 6 people who saw it. So we can double those numbers.
That was a canon film.
This movie is like
Hell yeah.
almost like Tombstone. Remember when Charlton Heston had his first film role in Tombstone?
Yes, introducing Charlton Heston.
He would Planet of the Apes laugh so hard at that joke. Thank you.
That toothy ass laugh. Anyway. So yeah, eventually, like, Charlie's like, I gotta see a psychiatrist. I can't deal with this anymore. And they stop off at this little town. And I love the waiting room. Now, of course,
The old man who's talking.
oh my God, because the old man, I mean, like, he is essentially also like Raymond.
Yes.
I mean, he's just repeating stuff from his past. It's like there's no context. He's
basically launching into the history of America.
I love the history of America.
And the Pony Express. Yeah.
The Western expansion. And
It's like, this is the guy who told the story of the postman.
He's great in his nondescript delivery or whatever.
Oh my
But
God.
Raymond's sitting there taking pictures of everyone's shoes while he's talking.
We'll talk about those pictures because those hit me really good. Really, really good.
I agree. I love it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one thing. It's like Raymond always goes around and he's always taking pictures of everything, like just snapping pictures. Soon here, he ends up obtaining a Watchman, a Sony Watchman, which most people forget those things even existed.
I know.
They were
Portable
before
TVs.
the Walkman, right? Like,
No.
were
Walkman
they after
was
the Walkman?
Oh yeah. Walkman. They were before the Discman.
Okay, that's where
the
I messed up.
Discmans.
I was thinking of the Discman.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little portable radio that's also a TV.
Yep.
Basically.
Itty bitty little 3-inch screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now my grandparents had a portable TV that was like the big, like it looked like a boombox, but it like had the front part was like a little 10-inch screen or whatever it was. But no, the Watchmen were like they look like little tricorders from original Star Trek.
they kind of look like
Fit it in.
tape
Yep.
recorders.
Like what?
Yeah,
Jason?
Like
like
tape
little-
recorders.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which also looked a little bit like I'm going back to tricorder.
But so he wants to go to a psychiatrist, but they end up at a fucking doctor.
And the nurse.
The nurse is like, I don't even know what that is. So
He's
what's wrong with him?
artistic. Yeah.
It's funny though, because that is like a statement, even though it's not, because just because she isn't aware of what autism is, she's like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
It's that earlier age of not understanding these types of people.
But also nowadays we would say nothing is wrong with him. He's autistic. You know what I mean? Like she's almost like 20 years early on her assessment of.
Yeah. It's like, I don't see anything wrong with him.
Yeah.
Because she's also having probably to deal with this old man who seems perfectly normal, just giving the history of the Pony Express in bumfuck Kansas or whatever.
I want to see his visit to the doctor.
Yeah.
What is he there for? Train man. He's train man.
He's train man.
Train man.
Hey, Chuck made a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I definitely made a joke.
So yeah, he and
But what
the
does he
doctor,
learn here at the doctor?
that he's exceptional with numbers. Like any number, he can multiply anything, he can square root anything. You know, it's like it's just incredible, like how quickly he sees and picks up the numbers. He's a beautiful mind here.
He is a beautiful mind, but we do get kind of a foreshadow to the end of the movie because then the doctor tries to get him to rationalize something. Well, I
Yeah,
don't
he's
know
like
rationalizing, but it's like if I had $1,
and I spent 50 cents. How much do I have? 70.
yeah.
Yeah.
70
So
cents.
it
Yeah,
is that,
70
like-
cents.
Doesn't understand abstracts. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't understand application of those things either. Like he doesn't understand that you could take two numbers, add them together or subtract them or multiply them and then do something with them. He just understands the cold hard fact of these numbers interacting with each other have a result.
But it is a foreshadowing to that later moment with the other doctor later
Yep.
in the movie.
Barry Levinson.
Oh, yeah, that was Barry.
Yeah.
I knew.
As soon as I saw him, it's like, oh, that's Barry Levinson. It's like, oh my God, Alfred Hitchcock's in this.
Good stuff.
So yeah, anyway, so that's where they find out that there's a number element here. And so he's also this is about the same time where he's calling back to the office and he's basically learning that it's over for the car deal. That the business has exploded and imploded and all the plodeds. And I love that when they're in the, did you fucking fart, Raymond? Of course I love that. But the whole thing leading up to that where it's like, you know, like Raymond's having a hard time with the enclosed space. It's like, we're safe here. It's like small, but safe. Yeah. You know, it's like, yeah, I kind of get that. I don't like the enclosed space either when I can't get out of it, but it's safe for Raymond and Charlie at this moment. But it's safe, but he's also learning that his life has been blown up at this point. And he's $80,000 in debt to four people who knows what they have access to or could do, or, you know, yeah.
Yeah, you get the sense that if you're buying gray market Lamborghinis, that you probably are trying to keep money off the books.
And you probably have some guys that can help procure things.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably not the type of people you want to be in debt to.
Right. So yeah, so this is where, more or less, this is where we end up in Las Vegas now at this point.
Yeah.
But there is one key scene that we get to that, I kind of want to wait until Chuck gets back, because this is where Charlie realizes Raymond has been a part of his life and has kind of always been a part of his life, kind of in a kind of intangible way. Chuck, you're back. Perfect. I waited for you to get back to get here, because before we get to Las Vegas, we did talk about farting in the phone booth.
Did you?
So
I was hoping you waited for me for that.
well, I mean, we can talk about it again if you want, because it cracks me up.
we want to talk. We want to talk about the revelation.
The revelation here,
Charlie
because
has.
they're in a hotel or in a motel again, and he begins to understand that Raymond knows him, or knows a version of him, because he has a picture of him holding Charlie as a baby.
Yeah. So the first thing that happens is Raymond is brushing his teeth. And when Charlie comes into the room, Raymond has a memory of Charlie saying, "Rain Man, funny teeth," or whatever. And he starts laughing. And he's like, "Wait a minute. Are you the Rain Man?" Like he has this moment of lucidity, like he has a breakthrough here.
And the rest of the audience is like,
oh, yeah. Because the way he says it too, it's like,
because he says, was I trying to say Raymond and I couldn't, and I said Rain Man? And Raymond says, yeah. You know, and it's like, oh my God, like, boom, how did we not get that?
Yeah, this scene gets me every time because it tells you the whole story, right? Because
it
immediately
explains everything about Charlie too.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, because immediately after that, Charlie goes to turn the bath on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hot water, and Raymond freaks out, and he's like, hot water burn baby, hot water burn baby. And Charlie's like, oh my God, that's why they sent you away, because they thought you were going to hurt me. And it's like the most heartbreaking fucking thing ever.
Yep.
Because Charlie has held on to the Rain Man his whole life, right? Like he talked about it earlier, like you had mentioned, Jeff, at house. And he has this realization that this man was part of his life. And the picture floating in the water, like lost forever too, that's like heartbreaking. Because Raymond drops this picture he's held on to forever to protect Charlie. Right? Like he thinks he's protecting his brother. And it's like, oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that is like the first moment where Charlie is kind of not coming around, that's the wrong word, but starting to understand his relation to this person.
And everything he does from this point forward changes in how he deals with his brother. He becomes, it's almost like the role reversal. Now in some ways he's protecting his brother.
Yeah, except for he uses them to count cards in Las Vegas.
So I do want to talk about that too, because I do think that is a second piece of this that is necessary to Charlie's ultimate arc.
Yeah.
Because even though he ends up exploiting, because we're basically now in Vegas at this point. So we have the first piece of him saying, oh my God, you are the person I've always hung on to, but that I forgot along the way. And why were you not part of my life? Which there you could get into all sorts of ideas of what would have happened if he was never sent away.
Could you imagine 26 years of thinking your brother was an imaginary friend?
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
And he's even more mad at his dad now about this.
Yep. Well, because there's also he just sent his son. He sent his other. He forced a son to run away. Now he finds out he willingly sent someone away, and that's I mean, it's like it paints a real good picture of just now. And again, like I'm sure that there are concepts around like his father not being able to handle the mother, not being able to understand how to care for somebody who is in Raymond's condition,
especially in that time, right?
Sure, but it certainly has a negative effect on all of Charlie's life.
Absolutely. The weird thing about all this is we only have the picture of Sanford Babbitt that Charlie paints, right? Because Raymond could never articulate what his father was, right? He can only say, Dad came to visit me and let me drive, right? So Sanford never he didn't kick Raymond to the curb, but that's the way Charlie thinks of it.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
And and we can sort of sympathize with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because how much different would Charlie have been if the three of them were still together and together
Charlie would
getting
probably
over
be a better person.
Yeah. And together trying to get, over the grief of losing their mother. It's like it's a whole different trajectory at this point that his life was forced on, that he had no choice, and it's like that's
and in this day and age we would call the absence of his brother not imaginary friend, but it'd almost be like repression.
Yeah.
Right. Like he repressed the memory of his brother being taken from him, because man, when Raymond's like, you were waving in the window. You were in the window. Bye-bye, Rain Man. Bye-bye. I was, it makes me want to cry right now.
Yeah, it's rough, but the next thing where the next major story point is now going into Vegas, because he's got to make money fast. He's got to pay off these people. And one thing that Jason and I were saying when you were gone was that these are guys that you probably don't want to owe money to. If you're procuring cars under the,
the loan might not be a legitimate loan.
Yeah.
Right.
And as I put it, it's like quotation mark guys will be coming.
Same kind of guys that we see in the casino who are watching the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The guys is not guys.
The guys, yeah. By the way, that's also a misconception created by this movie. Counting cards is actually not illegal.
No,
They will take you out of the casino.
They may
make you leave.
Yeah,
Yes.
any reason they think you are getting the upper hand on them, they will remove you from
this was
them.
probably a more accurate portrayal of what would happen.
Yeah.
No, old Vegas, you probably would have gotten taken out in an alley and beaten
You'd
up.
be in a trunk or something. Yeah.
But more modern Vegas, he's going to be like, this is the best deal you're going to get. So I suggest you take it. Now, if you were to come back and tried it again, then there might be some rough stuff.
There might be some rough stuff. Yeah. Rain Man 2, rough stuff.
But yeah, my whole thought was when he was being told that, and it was like, you should just count yourself lucky, take your winnings, and go. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what you should do, buddy.
Yes, don't ever go to Vegas.
Don't give him any lip. Just get the fuck out.
Yeah.
You can try your luck in Reno, but word travels fast, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he made sure to tell them that they share the information.
Yep.
Like he could have said you're just banned. And honestly, he might be banned from everywhere in Vegas now.
Yeah.
But but basically Charlie, I have a read on what Charlie does here where he does exploit his brother, but I read that as part of his arc of reconciling how he can be on the same page with his brother.
He's, in his mind, kind of bonding with him.
Exactly. And while there is obviously things that you can say, really, are you sure that you're really bonding?
Shitty. What he does is shitty,
but in his own way, it does bring them together. And he does have during the process of this, that he has a full experience with his brother in a different way than he had up to this point.
Right.
But I think it does help him in the long run.
It does, but it also teaches him or reinforces something that he learns later, because after they make the $86,000, bet 2 for good, 1 for bad, right? They make all that money and they leave and they go to have a drink at the bar, and Raymond kind of falls in love. I have this in quotation marks. Yeah. He's not falling in love, but he sees a sparkly woman.
Yeah. Oh, you found the one hooker in Vegas that can dance.
But he sets up a date with her, or he thinks
Iris.
a date with her. Yep. With Iris. Yeah. And they go back to the room, and this is when Charlie offhandedly or off the cuff mentions dancing, and Raymond's like, oh, I need to learn to dance now.
Yeah. Now. Yeah. And this is also one of those, this is kind of a heartbreaking thing too, because Charlie thinks he's helping his brother. He thinks he's made a connection with his brother after he teaches him. Cause I also like it. It's like, okay, Charlie, Raymond, you are going to have to look up at me. So stop looking at my feet. He's like, yeah. And he just keeps looking at his feet.
But yeah, this is the reinforcement of what happens later, because he, in Charlie's mind, sorry to interrupt you, is having that emotional moment with his brother.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to go in for the hug. Right. Yeah. Like, I'm going to hug my brother now because we're having a moment. Mm-hmm. And it's obviously not the same to Raymond. Mm-hmm. As soon as he hugs him, he feels like he's being squeezed and pulled and hurt my neck in 1988 moment, right?
Right.
Yeah. He's got to
get the red notebook out.
The blue book. Yeah.
In the red one, in the red notebook.
Or the red book, thank you.
Yeah.
But he hugs him, and Raymond freaks out.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not that sentimental thing with Raymond that Charlie thinks it is.
Yeah. And Charlie he's disappointed by it.
Yeah. He's like, I just wanted to hug you.
Yeah. And you can see in his face, it's like, oh, it's like he feels bad, and he feels bad for him and for himself, and this is something that, again, was removed by their father. I'm sure if they had been together, that situation would have ended differently.
Right,
There
because
could
I
have
think
been
Raymond could get comfortable with it.
Exactly.
He would never have the
He would
same
be
reciprocation, but he'd be comfortable with it.
Charlie would become part of the routine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's Vern. My main man Vern is basically what Charlie should have been in a lot of ways.
And
when he calls him his main man, it's like, oh,
I know, it's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those things, right? Like, it's a small thing, but it's not, right?
It's ginormous.
It's everything for their relationship. Yeah.
Valeria Golino shows back up wearing a crop top, and I'm really, really happy about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was going on with her back as a kid, but it looks good now. Looking great. But anyway, so she, and she finds out, it's like, oh, Raymond has a date. It's like, yeah. But this is when they go down to meet with Iris, that Charlie's pulled aside, and it's like, oh, our chief of security, Lieutenant Worf would like to come and have a conversation with you. I had thrown another one. Sorry. I'm in a routine now. I'm sorry. Anyway, but Susanna stays with Raymond, and Iris doesn't show. So Susanna's like, well, I could dance with you in the in the elevator. And this is one of those scenes that's often shown when like looking back on this movie. It's like, it's his first real moment of action. Like, she does something that Charlie can't do with him, which is get close to him, which goes back to how he instantly took to her.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the kiss is a little much, and it's a little weird.
Maybe.
I think Steph felt the same way. I think
it's pretty chaste as far as kisses go, though.
I agree.
Although, and it does end with the chuckle of, well, how did that feel? That's wet.
Yeah, it's wet.
Yeah, but it does show that Raymond can get comfortable with somebody.
Right.
He can have a connection that is quote unquote human in this case. That would be, to be able to show that affection.
Right.
So, but meanwhile, Charlie is basically being raked over the coals. Like, get out now.
Yeah.
It's like, if you just take your winnings and leave the state, you'll be fine.
I did have a moment too where I couldn't remember what happened with that, and my mind was going to the, gangster justice. And I'm like, oh man, they don't like beat up Raymond, do they? I had that moment where I was like, is this like going to be the true lowest point, hitting
in the
third
70s
act?
They would have.
Oh, if this was an exploitation flick, 100% Raymond's getting beat up.
I was so relieved that he wasn't. I was like, oh, I don't know if I could take it. Yeah.
But again, it's probably realistic, and like you said, this is probably the best case scenario that's realistic, that in 1988, we'll just ask you to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe don't come back.
We start there. Yeah. Why? You don't want any more trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't want the trouble either, right? Like,
nope.
They bring attention to themselves if they're hurting people or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, because there is no law to go.
$86,000 is like, that's a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Right. They don't give a shit about that. They won that on the table next to them in this.
Yeah. And they got 3,000 back. They did get 3,000 of it back.
Right.
I mean,
it's not your game, Raymond.
Right?
Yeah. What is it that he's playing? Is that,
it's like Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, it was real. It was Wheel of Fortune, because he says, yeah, because that's what draws him to it. Is
Look
that
at all
it's
of
Wheel
the
of Fortune.
glamorous merchandise.
Yeah. I miss that old version of Wheel of Fortune where you used to have to spend the money you won. I miss that.
Well, now it's fucking Ryan Seacrest.
Is it?
So weird.
Yeah.
Is Vanna White still there, or did she retire
she's
too?
there. She's there. We watched the other day, and I was like, oh, Ryan.
Another job for Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Anyway. Yeah. So, but who gets to drive away when they check
Raymond.
out?
Raymond gets That's such a good scene too. Like you can see them smiling and like Raymond going over curves and shit.
Yeah. And Charlie has got all the weight is lifted off of him for now, at least.
Yeah.
Right, because he's able to make good with everyone he needs to make good with. There isn't that pressure of the $80,000 or whatever. Susanna's back after she had left, and he does have a better relationship in like from his side.
Yeah.
His brother.
Oh, by the way, I do like Susanna's line about because he says, "What are you doing here?" It's like, "Well, I'm out of a job."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what else am I going to do? You know?
Good stuff.
Yeah.
But now the real goal from here on out is for Charlie to get custody and presumably from a better mind frame. Like he wants to take care of his brother.
He has an understanding now of what it takes to be with his brother. Not really to take care of his brother, but to be with his brother.
Right. He thinks
that's the story, or at least that's what we are supposed to take from it.
Yes, because he clearly doesn't have the capacity to take care of him yet.
No.
Because in the interim, while they're waiting for the meeting with the doctor, Charlie is sleeping. They're in his apartment or his house, whatever it is. And Raymond goes to make himself breakfast and he almost burns the house down. And he freaks out. There's smoke coming out of, I don't know what fucking toaster oven that is. I've never seen one of those in my life, only in this movie.
Yeah,
whatever that thing was.
Going on there. It seemed like a toaster oven, but I don't know.
Was it a convection oven?
I don't know. It sat on the counter. Normally,
like one of but like an old school, like mini convection oven.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think I've ever seen that thing.
It looks kind of like a toaster oven. Yeah, that could be a convection oven. I mean, but yeah, I don't understand like what actually was burning. Like what?
Yeah, was there bread in there? Was there
get any? He didn't get the waffle in there, so I was like, "What is actually on fire here?" Yeah,
yeah, it was confusing, but it does.
It could also just be that Charlie doesn't clean it, and the shit inside it. He probably can't take care of himself that well.
That's probably true. It's he left it on, and then something in there's burning.
Yeah. But it does serve a purpose, right? It shows. So the smoke alarm goes off. Raymond has his moment.
This is a huge freak out.
It's kind of terrifying because the whole time you think he's going to put his head through the glass door.
Yeah.
You know, like then that Jason was like my Las Vegas moment. I was like, oh, does he hurt himself here? I can't remember.
Yeah. Totally.
But it is like a realization for Charlie. He tries to downplay it later. But it's like, I can't leave this man for 30 seconds, right? He might hurt himself.
Yeah.
But then they have the meeting with Barry Levinson.
Well, even before that, did you mention that he was offering money to walk away?
Yeah, how much was it?
250.
250,000, yeah. By his doctor. Yeah. Told him to walk away.
But he does the call.
Refuses it. Yeah.
He refuses it with good intentions. Right? It's not about the 1.5 million anymore. No. It's about his brother.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, his arc is more or less complete at this point.
The only thing left to do is to
win.
Or to fully understand that he cannot.
That he's incapable of
giving what's left is
needs.
What's left is to win or lose and to understand why he wins and loses. Yeah. So he feels that he can be the custodian. He can, he's blood. It's like this is part of Charlie's blind side or blind spot in terms of he still doesn't fully understand his brother. Like he understands that it's hard, but it's hard. I mean, it's not the same type of hard.
Right.
It's yeah.
But so they talk to the doctor who's there to just really ascertain the relationship, right? He's not there to judge. And I think Barry lays it on a little thick here. I'm like, you're a little bit, I don't know. I don't like his performance in this scene, honestly.
I mean, he is serving as arbitration though. And he knows more about the science part of what the doctor can provide.
Right.
So, because like Charlie does come in very defensive, like, so in reviewing your case and like almost instantly, like Charlie's like, so you've already decided, or what, it's like, no, that's not what we're doing. And so like Charlie gets hyper focus on the fact that you're trying to take this away from me. You are going to say I'm not suitable, which he really isn't. I mean,
No,
but
he needs to let go.
emotionally he is, but yeah, he needs to let go. And like this is that same thing that it's like he is now accepted Raymond into his routine.
But yeah, so Charlie thinks that there's been a breakthrough, right? With Raymond. And the doctor asks Raymond, like, do you want to stay with your brother, Charlie? And he's like, yeah. He asks him like multiple times and he's like, yeah. And Charlie has that, like, his face is like illuminating, like, ha, I won. But then he asks him the same question about going back to Walbrook. And he's like, yeah. And Charlie's like, and then he keeps asking, he's like,
they go back and forth.
He's badgering Raymond. To which eventually Charlie's like, all right, fucking stop. And
you don't have to humiliate him.
Yeah, you don't have to humiliate him. And then the two doctors leave the room and Charlie goes and sits next to him. And like one of the most endearing moments in film, which is wild to say when you have like a non-emotional character. He's like, no more questions. He calls him his main man. And I almost cry and he spells his name. And then he puts his head on his forehead, right? Which is about as much as you can expect.
Yeah.
From Raymond. Right. And that is like, I question would that really happen, but I'm also like, that is one of the most endearing, beautiful moments.
I mean, we can question whether or not that could really happen, but at the end of the day, I kind of feel like I don't care.
I don't either.
Like, because for the purpose of the dramatic element of what we've been experiencing, I don't care.
If he hugged him, I would have been like, this is
bullshit. Yeah. Like if he'd have said,
would have been too much.
If he'd have hugged him and he said, I love you, Charlie Babbitt.
Yeah.
And then everybody stands up and cheers. The
music swells.
Yeah. And the doctors come in. Yeah. Like, you did it. You solved it.
And then Truman walks up the stairs and out the door.
Yeah. And maybe Charlie moves to a little house just outside the mental institution. Always be close to his brother.
Hey, but this is really good.
It is
like,
really good.
It's the perfect
it's the
payoff.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the moment of the movie. I mean, we realize these two can't be together, but that it's okay.
But their connection is real.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and so basically, we don't have to hear the decision because the next scene is going to the train station.
Yep.
To leave, and
the train man's there.
Train man is there.
You get the sense that even if they did decide that he could have custody and stay with him, that he would acquiesce to the doctor.
Right. He had the full understanding now, right? He'd completed his character arc, but as a person,
Yep.
Yep.
And he tells Raymond that, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And this time, it's kind of, it's a little bit of the opposite, right? Because now Raymond is in the window, and kind of being, watching him go away this way instead of the other way around.
It's kind of a stinger a little bit too, because you remember that Charlie was waving him to him, saying bye bye Raymond, goodbye. But Raymond doesn't do the same.
Yeah, he can't. I mean, I don't even know if he's looking out the window.
He's not. He's messing with the antenna.
Yeah, his watchman. Yeah,
it keeps true. It keeps true to his character. It doesn't. It doesn't bend to what we want.
Right.
To see. There is one moment before that I do want to mention because it's a joke that's funny, because Dr. Bruner asks Raymond, like, hey, do you feel more comfortable in your Kmart clothes? And tries to, like, tell him, Raymond. He's like, Kmart sucks. I love it.
Which is funny. Kmart officially went out of business for good.
Yes.
Just like last week.
No more blue light specials.
Yep.
Yeah, because for a while there, they were only online. As they were liquidating their stores, they went to only online.
They gone.
Which, I mean, the last few Kmarts that were around me, they were pretty bad.
They're rough.
Yeah, I have a
Kmart
question.
had a heyday though. It
They
really
did. They really did.
We used to go there all the time.
Yeah, we did too. That's where
I have a
stole all
question.
my
I used
baseball
to,
cards.
I used to get Little Caesars at the Little Caesars cafe
The
inside.
little Caesars.
The Little Caesars. So it's a really little Caesar.
Did they have pizza there?
It was only size enough for one pizza.
It's mostly pizza. Question for both of you, which I assume is yes, but it's something that you both questioned last week, whether this movie holds up.
Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah.
Because it takes it seriously. Again, like there are moments to laugh at. There is a comedy element to this movie, but not at
The expense.
Raymond's condition.
There's nothing mean spirited about this movie.
No. They could, every time they could go there, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that, like I said, every time that Charlie has one of his freakouts, you kind of understand, because it would be difficult if you've never, it's like if you just like, it's just, you do kind of understand it. But again, at the end of the day, it's there to inform you about that character, not about how hard or how difficult it would be to take care of somebody in Raymond's condition. Right. It's not that. It's Charlie. It's about Charlie. But yeah, I think it holds up exceptionally well for how much more we know about this topic 35 years on.
Yep. It's for me, it's like a comfort movie.
Sure.
I could probably watch it whenever, but I love it. I still love it.
I got a couple of small things to finish up on here. One, I think about it. It's like, I don't know if I was my age in 1988 and I had seen all of the Best Picture nominees or whatever, all the movies of 1998 or 1988, probably in this movie, I would say, this is a contender, but I don't know if I would vote for it. But seeing the pictures in the credits and getting up from the auditorium at that point, I would be like, it's got my vote, because now you're seeing life through Raymond's eyes. Mm-hmm. And that is so subtle. You don't expect to ever see those pictures, and you get them.
I honestly wish there were more of them, and I wish they were less good.
But they are, well, I think someone can correct me, Jeff. I'm assuming you looked into this. I think they're actually pictures that Dustin Hoffman.
I'm sure they are.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah,
because none of them are focused on anything emotional. It's like shoes. It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
but there's an artistic quality to it, though.
There absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's the mathematical mind. He probably sees the golden ratio.
I love the picture. The one picture that is my favorite is the one of the road signs with the sun behind it.
Yeah, it's
like
so
that shit. I'd get a print of that. Yeah, put that up on the wall. But yeah, it's so good. But like, just even the one that's all that, as he was driving, like as they were driving down the road, it's just a blur of the railing on the bridge.
Yeah.
It tells a story. It's like the entire story is told in those pictures,
right?
And there's kind of an abstract way.
There's no emotion attached to them. It's like you said, it's the whole story. It's everything that happened to them, but there's not a single face, right, in any of the pictures. There's no, it's pretty brilliant, honestly.
Yeah. Now the other thing I wanted to ask you. Maybe specifically you, Chuck, because you have such a connection with this movie. In 2 weeks, does Charlie go to Cincinnati to see him?
Yes. I think he does.
I land on the opposite side because I think that there's a lot more that Charlie has to do. And I think eventually time and distance because the to Raymond, it's always
is it time for Rain Man 2? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I was going to say if I ever write Rain Man 2, The Revenge of Charlie Babbitt, it would be he didn't because
Rain Man 2, Rain Harder.
Rain Harder, yeah. No,
there
no
is
driving today. Rain Man 2, no driving today.
There is a sense that he needs more growth.
He does need more growth, but what I was thinking was like, maybe Charlie understands at this point that to Raymond, forever is always going to be 2 weeks away. It's like everything will always be Charlie will be coming in 2 weeks, even if Charlie shows up.
I think Charlie needs him more than that, though.
I think
very
Charlie
possible. Needs him. That's why I think he goes, not for Raymond, but for himself.
I mean, if nothing else, Susanna is going to tell him, we got to go. You said, so we got to go. She holds him to it.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I don't know.
What do you think?
I never really doubted it. That I thought he would go, but now I'm not sure.
Interesting.
It's a compelling argument.
I never doubted it either, which is why I said yes. Like, well, it wasn't.
And I was just, I was just kind of thinking that, to Raymond, he doesn't really fully understand what 2 weeks is. So it will always be Charlie's coming in 2 weeks. Even if Charlie does go in 2 weeks, he's always coming in 2 weeks now.
Yeah, but if Charlie changed in the way we want him to,
sure,
he would honor a commitment, not like
keep his promise, and he also would want to go.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Otherwise, he's still selling shady Lamborghinis to people, which I hope he's changed that in his life too as a result.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that he's gonna settle down with Susanna, and they actually have like a legitimate business,
like a meaningful business,
and a meaningful relationship and business.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's obviously the smarter of the
two. She definitely. We shouldn't go into that because I think Charlie's smart too, but it's not the time to talk about it.
Well, he's smart in a way that's kind of skeevy at times. Yeah, he's scheming. How about that? He is. Okay. Anyway, this is a fantastic movie. Absolutely holds up. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that there are going to be people who have a spectrum of opinion on this and on the topic, but I think it does things the best possible way it can.
I agree, and I think a testament to it is that my kid, who has a deeper understanding of these things when they're my age, when I saw, or, like comparable, doesn't have a grievance with it is a big deal, right? Like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great that that
pass the Gen Z test, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Certainly does better than Sandals. So.
Yes. Sandals can't have your dogs out.
Unless you're wearing socks.
That is so weird.
It's so weird.
All my life, that's like a sign of like
the dorkiest thing you can do. Is wear sandals with socks, and now it's like the cool thing to do.
I mentioned
the world is upside down.
I probably shouldn't mention this, but I'm gonna mention it. I told my kid the comment you said about it's gonna breed a whole new generation of fetishists.
Foot fetishists.
She was like, "No."
Sorry, but that's how that works.
But she's still against feet. Yeah. So
she's not going to be in the fetishist.
It's going to be the next generation that re-fetishizes feet. Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm glad we ended this great movie with that.
Me too.
Well, you know what? That's the way it goes. We got another great movie.
We need redemption for that. The end of this.
Sure do. There's only one place to go.
Shawshank.
Yeah.
Let's go to Shawshank.
This movie, as well as Shawshank Redemption, has always been received. It'll be fun talking about it next week because in consistent reevaluation of movies from the past, these days it is considered one of the all-time greatest movies ever made. Mm-hmm. So it's about time. It's about time we talk about it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So next week, November 20th, go to filmseizure.com. Where you can find all the places you can subscribe to us at the various podcast sites, as well as the various social medias. Mm-hmm. You can do that. And that's where you'll also discover when we drop the Shawshank Redemption. Episode number 341. Finally getting around to it. Anyway, 30th anniversary of that movie, too.
Damn.
Yeah. So, do that. Now, also, all of those same places filmseizure.com, all of that stuff. On Monday, I've got an episode of Monster Mondays for The Boogans.
Hell yeah.
I don't know anything. I didn't know much about it going into it, but I knew I liked that title.
Is that the Boogity Boogity Boo movie? Is that
No,
No,
that's Mr. Boogedy.
Mr. Boogedy.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
the Boogans
Damn
is just the name of monsters created for a mine shaft where little creatures are being kept inside. Anyway, yeah. So that is Monday on Monster Mondays. This Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, I have a review of Twister's Revenge. So yeah, monster trucks, Wisconsinites, bunch of hillbillies. So what happens?
Billies are always good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but yeah. Anyway, go there, read that. It'll be a good time. So until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Wapner.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.